NEC Section 250.53 addresses the requirements for the grounding electrode conductor when connecting to grounding electrodes, specifically ground rods, pipes, and plates. The core of the issue revolves around whether a number 6 bare copper conductor is sufficient for connecting multiple ground rods, and how local interpretations of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, can influence this. Let's break down the key aspects. NEC 250.53 permits the use of a number 6 bare copper conductor to connect multiple driven ground rods. This is a widely accepted and standard practice in electrical installations across the United States. However, the interpretation of this code section can vary among electrical inspectors and local jurisdictions. NEC Section 90.4 grants the authority having jurisdiction, or OJ, the right to interpret and modify the provisions of the NEC. This means a local electrical inspector has the power to enforce stricter requirements than what is outlined in the NEC. For example, an inspector might require a larger grounding electrode conductor size, such as a number 4 copper, even though the NEC permits a number 6. This is often based on local amendments or specific interpretations that the AHJ believes are necessary for safety in their jurisdiction. This situation highlights the importance of understanding both the NEC requirements and any local amendments or interpretations. In many jurisdictions, the NEC serves as the baseline, but local authorities can impose additional requirements. To ensure compliance and avoid potential issues during inspections, it's crucial to communicate with the local electrical inspector before starting any electrical work, especially regarding grounding and bonding. When connecting multiple ground rods, the grounding electrode conductor must be sized according to NEC 250.66, but with an exception outlined in 250.53. Generally, the size of the grounding electrode conductor is based on the size of the ungrounded service entrance conductors. However, when connecting to rod, pipe, or plate electrodes, the portion of the grounding electrode conductor that is the sole connection to these electrodes need not be larger than number 6 copper wire or number 4 aluminum wire. Here is a more detailed explanation. Firstly, understanding NEC 250.53 the NEC 250.53 specifically addresses the use of ground rods, pipes, and plates as grounding electrodes. It states that if these electrodes are used, the portion of the grounding electrode conductor that connects solely to these electrodes doesn't have to be larger than a number 6 AWG copper or number 4 AWG aluminum conductor. This is a significant exception because, under normal circumstances, the size of the grounding electrode conductor is determined by the size of the service entrance conductors as per NEC 250.66. Secondly, multiple ground rods. If multiple ground rods are used, they are considered a single grounding electrode system. The NEC allows for this configuration to ensure a more effective grounding path. In such cases, the conductor connecting the multiple ground rods together and running to the main grounding bus or terminal board can also be number 6 AWG copper, provided it is the sole connection to these electrodes. Thirdly, the role of NEC 250.66 NEC 250.66 generally requires the grounding electrode conductor to be sized based on the size of the service entrance conductors. For instance, if you have a 200 amp service, you might typically need a larger grounding electrode conductor than number 6 AWG copper. However, the exception in 250.53 overrides this requirement when connecting to ground rods, pipes, or plates, allowing the use of the smaller number 6 AWG copper conductor. Fourthly, local amendments and interpretations. It's crucial to recognize that local jurisdictions can amend or interpret the NEC differently. Some local codes may require larger conductors for grounding electrode systems, regardless of the NEC allowance for number 6 AWG copper. These amendments are typically based on local soil conditions, environmental factors, or specific safety concerns. The authority having jurisdiction, or OJ, has the final say on these matters, and their interpretations must be followed. Fifthly, practical implications. If an electrical inspector requires a number 4 AWG copper conductor instead of a number 6 AWG copper conductor for connecting ground rods, They are likely enforcing a local amendment or a specific interpretation of the NEC. While this might seem contradictory to the NEC allowance, the AHJ has the authority to make such determinations. It's important to comply with these local requirements to pass inspection and ensure the safety and compliance of the electrical installation. Sixthly, best practices to ensure compliance and avoid issues. Firstly, always check local codes before starting any electrical work. Local amendments can significantly impact grounding requirements. Secondly, communicate with the local electrical inspector to clarify any doubts or concerns about grounding requirements. A proactive discussion can prevent misunderstandings and costly rework. Thirdly, document all grounding connections thoroughly, including the size and type of conductors used and the methods of connection. This documentation can be helpful during inspections. Seventhly, understanding NEC 90.4. NEC 90.4 grants the authority having jurisdiction, or OJ, the right to interpret and modify the provisions of the NEC. This section is crucial in understanding why an inspector might enforce requirements that seem to deviate from the standard NEC. It states that the AHJ may waive specific requirements in the code or permit alternative methods if they are satisfied that the proposed design or method provides equivalent safety. The AHJ role is to ensure that electrical installations meet a certain level of safety, and they have the power to make judgments based on local conditions, specific installation challenges, or their professional expertise. The AHJ interpretation can result in stricter requirements than what is generally outlined in the NEC. For example, an inspector might require a larger grounding electrode conductor size or specific types of grounding electrodes based on local soil conditions or past experiences with electrical systems in the area. These stricter requirements are intended to enhance safety and reliability. When an inspector cites NEC 90.4, they are essentially stating that their interpretation or modification of the code is necessary to ensure safety within their jurisdiction. This can be due to a variety of factors, including firstly, local amendments. Some jurisdictions adopt the NEC with specific amendments that reflect local needs. These amendments can include changes to grounding requirements, wiring methods, or other electrical practices. Secondly, unique environmental conditions. Areas with high soil resistivity, corrosive soils, or frequent lightning strikes may require enhanced grounding systems. The AHJ can mandate specific measures to address these conditions. Thirdly, historical performance. If certain electrical practices have led to problems or failures in the past, the AHJ may implement stricter rules to prevent recurrence. Fourthly, technological advancements. As new technologies and electrical equipment are introduced, the AHJ may need to adapt the code to address these changes and ensure safety. How to address AHJ interpretations. Firstly, research local codes before starting any electrical work. It is essential to review the local electrical codes and amendments. This will help you understand any specific requirements that differ from the standard NEC. Secondly, communicate with the inspector before beginning the installation. Discuss the proposed electrical design with the local electrical inspector. This can help identify any potential issues and ensure compliance with local interpretations. Thirdly, document everything. Keep detailed records of all materials used, installation methods, and communications with the inspector. This documentation can be valuable if there are any disputes or questions later on. Fourthly, seek clarification. If you disagree with an inspector's interpretation, politely ask for a written explanation of the requirement and the specific code section being cited. This can help you understand the rationale behind the decision. Fifthly, appeal. If you believe the inspector's interpretation is incorrect or unreasonable, most jurisdictions have an appeals process. You can submit a formal appeal to a higher authority for review. The key takeaway is that while the NEC provides a baseline for electrical safety, local authorities have the power to modify and interpret the code to address specific local conditions and concerns. Understanding this dynamic and engaging in proactive communication with local inspectors is crucial for ensuring compliance and a safe electrical installation. Always prioritize safety and compliance with local codes to avoid potential issues during inspections. Remember that electrical codes and interpretations can change, so staying updated is crucial for electrical professionals.